All right, let's go to the town hall, like you said. And before we get to that, we're going to start with a little bit of polling. There was a fun analysis here by Nate Silver. Let's put this up there on the screen. Silver writes in a new column, quote, "Here's what my gut says about the election, but don't trust anyone's gut, even mine." And actually, if you read the column, Krystal, he basically says, if you ask me to trust my gut, I've been vacuuming so much media and looking at so much disparate data that I think that Donald Trump is going to win. But that's exactly why you shouldn't even trust my gut. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? The fact that he says his gut thinks that Trump is going to win, it means something to me. I don't actually take seriously his whole "don't trust my gut." Sean Trendy over at RCP, somebody who was a real canary ahead of the 2016 election, so I've always trusted what he has to say. He actually said the same thing. He's like, yeah, if you asked me to put like my chips on something, I would put it on Trump. And he's like, but the smarter move, if I was at the table, would be to get all my chips and walk away and wait for what the outcome would be. So I can't totally hand wave it away. And there are signs. You know, there are signs everywhere. Harry Enton, for example, over at CNN talking about independence and some of the movement away from Kamala Harris. Let's take a listen.
Center of the electorate, you go last time around, Joe Biden won these voters by 11 points. You look at September of 2024, a month ago, Kamala Harris was up 5 points among independents. You look now, though, look at this. She's only up by 2 points among a key bloc center of the electorate, down 9 points from Biden was at the end of the 2020 campaign. Of course, this is a national picture. This is a national picture. What is going on in those key battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes, that blue wall, right? Joe Biden last time around won him by 5 points over Donald Trump. Look at where we are today. This is the type of movement Donald Trump likes to see in the center of the electorate, up by a point. Now, of course, that's well within any margin of error, right? But again, it's the movement. It's the trends, Mr. Berman, that we're looking at. And when you flip a group from going +5 Biden to now +1 Trump, that's the type of movement Donald Trump loves to see. And it's the type of movement that I think gives Democrats some agita. Usually the way independents go, so goes the nation. So candidates who won independence in elections since 1952, look at this. Won independence, won the election 15, lost the election despite winning independence, just 3. So it is possible to lose independence and win the election. But the bottom line is that's only happened 3 times. It was Nixon in 68, it was Ford in 76, and it was Kerry in 2004.
There you go. And if you take a lot of that data coming out, we're going to talk about it in our next block about Nevada. Things are looking very, very good for Republicans. At the very least, clearly the movement amongst Latinos and all there is very obvious. And for traditional blue demographics not coming out to vote, or at the very least being outnumbered pretty dramatically. So I put all that together, and I mean, it's relatively a good situation for Trump. But of course, you know, a lot can happen. And what we talked about with Dave Weigel remains the key point. Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina can all go Trump, and Kamala can still win the election. Yeah. As long as the Nebraska, what is it, Nebraska 1? Is that what it is? I forget. Whatever that Nebraska,
whatever.
Whether
the one that's a swing district by
the swing
Omaha,
district, as long as it goes, there you go, 270 electoral
And the
votes.
poll, that one looks like pretty much it's in the bag for them based on what we've seen.
That's what I've seen right now.
But so if you get that and you get the blue wall states, and I do feel like based on the polling we've seen and based on the tea leaves you can read from the early vote, the blue wall states are going in a different direction than the Sun Belt states, which would make sense.
It's hard to say in PA, but in the rest of them, in Michigan specifically, it does look good for them. Yeah,
and it would make some sense, right? I mean, just given the different demographic groups, how they're shifting and realigning the campaigns, different strategies, et cetera. But you know, if you want to understand the Kamala Harris strategy down the stretch of like the Liz Cheney tour and the the going on Fox News and the fascism democracy pitch here at the end, I think it's all because they see those numbers with independents and they feel they need to shore them up, and they're concerned that people's top 2, the things that are holding them back from Harris are, number 1, Trump's favorability creeping up a little bit, so he doesn't seem like as bad as he used to seem. So trying to, remind people of like the worst parts of him. And number 2, that they can't quite envision Kamala Harris in the commander-in-chief role. And so, that she's too liberal and she's a lightweight, if that's the core of the campaign's analysis of why they think independents aren't quite as firmly in her camp as they were with Joe Biden. Like, that's what is leading them to the strategy, which, again, it's not a strategy I'm particularly in love with, but that's, I think, the way that they're thinking about these things. And so we'll see. The big question one of the big questions with independents is previously, a lot of times there were significant numbers of independents who were just like basically Republicans who just didn't really want to call themselves Republicans, but then always voted for the Republican. Now you have a trend of a lot of young voters who are new into the system who don't want to call themselves Democrats and have all kinds of issues with the Democratic Party.
But will vote Democrat.
But will vote Democrat. And who are, who are ultimately like, a lot of Bernie type young people who are like, no, I don't really associate with the Democratic Party, but there's no way in hell they're voting for Republicans, especially young women. I think that's particularly like a significant trend there. And that was one thing. We're going to talk some about the Nevada early vote numbers, which, by the way, I do think look, good for Republicans. I don't think there's any like spinning that away. But one of the things that was being pointed out is a lot of the independents who are voting in Nevada are pretty young. And there is this trend in American life now of young people identify as independents, but disproportionately voting Democrat. So anyway, we'll see how it all shakes out. We'll see if those people show up to vote on Election Day or before.
That is a good corollary. And that is one way where Nevada could still go blue, is if what is it called? Other, I think, on the ballot. It's not independent. It actually is like unidentified or something.
AVR maybe?
So, yeah, I think that's what it is.
But anyway, other. We'll just go with that.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.